Hello everyone, this is Jyoti. Welcome back to my channel. Today we will be talking about one of the fastest growing and among the largest cloud computing platforms in the market right now. I'm talking about Microsoft Azure. So, who is the audience who should be familiar with Azure? So, Azure introduction is suitable for candidates from technical and non-technical backgrounds whose current or future work relates to cloud computing. For example, those who are involved in selling or purchasing cloud-based products, solutions, and services, or those taking their first look at cloud computing and Azure. Now let's talk about the prerequisites. There are no prerequisites for taking the fundamental course or to learn Azure. Technical experience is not required, however, some general IT knowledge and experience is beneficial. Now, before we begin, let's talk about what we will be covering in this video. So we will talk about why cloud computing, what is cloud computing, what is Azure, types of Azure services, and uses of Azure. So let's start with why you should be interested in cloud computing. Now let's say you have an idea for a revolutionary application, an idea that meets both the requirement when it comes to a good application, one, great user experience, and two, it's highly profitable. For it to be successfully accessible, you'll have to release it on the internet. Now, people need to use it and spread it to become truly famous. However, for that, you are going to need servers, storage, developers, dedicated network, and application security to ensure your application works the way it should. Now, these are a lot of components, and that's where the problem lies. Thus, the major disadvantage to this approach is the initial setup, which is very expensive and risky, which means this requires a huge amount of capital upfront to ensure that the application works properly. And the downside is that your application does not become as popular as you expected it to be. You're not going to get the money back that you have spent on all the infrastructure, which means it involves a huge amount of risk. Also, on the flip side, if it does become famous, your number of users will increase, which means that you'll have to buy more servers, more storage systems to keep up with your demands. And that can be solved with the help of cloud computing. So, in technical terms, if you want to see what are the cloud computing benefits, these are the cloud computing benefits, that is high availability, scalability, elasticity, agility, fault tolerance, disaster recovery, global reach, customer latency capabilities, predictive cost considerations, and security. So in short, these are the key points, which are the benefits of cloud computing. We are not digging deep into these key points or the benefits of cloud computing because here we are only talking about the overview of cloud computing and Azure. Let's move ahead with what is cloud computing. So cloud computing is the on-demand availability of computer system resources, especially data storage and computing power, without direct active management by the user. The term is generally used to describe data centers available to many users over the internet. So, cloud computing is a platform that gives you access to a number of computing resources, and that is possible with the help of internet. Now, as a user, all you need to do is go to the cloud service provider through your laptop or a computer, through the internet, of course, and connect to the cloud service provider. And there you go. You may easily get access to the cloud computing resources that may include serverless computing, VMs, storage, and so much more. So some cloud service providers are, for example, Microsoft, Google, Amazon Web Services. These are some large businesses, and there are other cloud service providers as well. So what they do is they leverage the benefits of economies of sales and then pass those benefits to their customers. So this is how these cloud service providers provide the services to the users, and the users have to pay as per their usage. So based on the use, they have to pay. That is the one major benefit. Now, if we dig a little deeper, basically these cloud service providers have a massive data center or data centers. Now, in these data centers, there are 100 of servers, storage systems, and multiple resources that can be utilized. Now, there are various organizations whose critical component data can be stored there. So these are very safe and secure locations where a large amount of data can be stored. Hence, these are named as data centers. These data centers are usually used by the users by connecting through the internet and collect the data and use it, that the users can access any service based on their requirement from anywhere. Now, like I told you, there is a number of services that users can use. For example, if you want a notification every time someone sends you a message, or perhaps once you get an email, you need a copy of it created. Now, for all of that, there are providers which give you the access to the cloud services for different options, where users only pay for the service that they use. So there is no upfront charge that they will tell you to pay, and that will cost less compared to the on-premise network or on-premise application. Now, cloud computing is used for a variety of reasons. Firstly, there is machine learning and data analysis. Now, basically, these are the services that analyze your data and tells you how you can work with this data better. Then there is data storage and backup, streaming media content. For example, you do not know that on Netflix, all the shows that you watch are on the cloud. So you connect to the internet and you browse through Netflix and you get to these videos. That is what is happening through cloud. Then creating and testing applications, automating software delivery, hosting blogs and applications. These are possible with the help of cloud service providers. Now let's move ahead with types of cloud models. So there are different types of cloud computing models like public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud. So let's start with public cloud. Public cloud are owned by cloud services or hosting providers only. It provides resources and services to multiple organizations and users. It is accessed via secure network connection, typically over the internet. Next is private cloud. Now, private cloud is owned and operated by the organizations that uses cloud computing resources. Organizations create a cloud environment in their own data center. There is self-service access to compute resources provided to the users within the organization. The organizations are responsible for operating the services they provide. Third type of cloud is hybrid. Now, hybrid is nothing but a combination of public and private clouds to allow application to run appropriately as per the requirement. If we see a comparison of these, public cloud, private cloud, and hybrid cloud, in public cloud, there is no capital expenditure. You don't have to buy a new server to scale up or any resources that you need to buy or any hardware. There is agility. Applications can be made accessible quickly and deprovisioned whenever needed. It is a consumption-based model. That means the organizations pay only for what they use and operate under an operational expenditure model. Whereas private cloud has control and security. These are the two features. So control means the organizations have complete control over the resources. Also, the organizations have complete control over security. In hybrid cloud, now this is the most flexible type of cloud, the most flexible scenario With a hybrid cloud setup, an organization can determine whether to run their application in a private cloud or a public cloud, as they have both. There is compliance. Organizations maintain the ability to comply with strict security, compliance, or legal requirement as needed. Now let's talk about the cloud computing services. So there are three cloud computing services: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. Infrastructure as a service has flexibility. Infrastructure as a service is the most flexible cloud service as you have control to configure and manage the hardware running your application. Platform as a service has productivity. Users can focus on application development only as all platform management is handled by the cloud provider. Working with distributed teams as services is easy as the platform is accessed over the internet and can be made globally available more easily. Software as a service is pay-as-you-go pricing model, where the users pay for the software they use on the subscription model, typically monthly or yearly, regardless of how much they use for the software. Now let's talk about economies of scale. The concept of economies of scale is the ability to do things less expensively and more efficiently when operating at a large scale in comparison to operating at a smaller scale. CapEx versus OpEx, that is capital expenditure and operational expenditure. So in capital expenditure, you spend on physical infrastructure upfront. So there is high upfront cost. There is value of investment which reduces over time. Operational expenditure is where we spend on services or products as needed and get billed immediately. So there's no upfront cost and we pay as per the use. So that was about the basic cloud computing, the different cloud computing models and cloud computing services. So now let's talk about Microsoft Azure. Now, what is Azure? Azure is a comprehensive set of services that enable you to quickly build, deploy, and manage applications across a global network of Microsoft managed data center. Azure is a cloud computing platform provided by Microsoft. Microsoft is basically an online portal through which you can access and manage resources and services. Now, resources and services are nothing but you can store your data, you can transform the data into services that Microsoft provides. Again, all you need is the internet and being able to connect to the Azure portal. Then you get access to all the resources and services. Now you can see here there are users connected to the internet and through the Azure portal, they can access various resources and services. Now here are some things that you need to know about Azure. It was launched in 1st February 2010. It's free to start and has a pay per use model, which means, like I said before, you need to pay for the services you use through Azure. And the most important selling point is that 80% of the Fortune 500 companies use Azure services, which means that most of the bigger companies of the world actually recommend using Azure. Azure supports a wide variety of programming languages like C Sharp, Java, and so much more. Another very important selling point of Azure is that the amount of data it has is huge. So it is among the topmost cloud service providers and it has the most number of data centers. Now it is important for the cloud service provider to have many data centers around the globe because it means that they can provide their services to the wider audience. And as the Azure provider or Microsoft Azure has the largest number of data centers, more than any cloud service provider. So it is one of the most reliable cloud service provider in the world. And at the moment, there are various regions, more than 54. Now let's talk about Azure services. Azure has services that include compute, networking, storage, Internet of Things, migration, mobile, analytics, containers, AI, machine learning, integration, management tools, developer tools, security, databases, DevOps, media, identity, and web. So there are many services that Azure provides. So this is the major chunk of Azure services that Microsoft provides, and there are so much more. Now, let's talk about the uses of Azure. Firstly, for application development, it could be any application, mostly web applications. Then you can test the application on how it works. You can host the application on the internet. You can create VMs of any size or RAM that you want. You can integrate and sync features. You can collect and store metrics, for example, how the data works, how the current data is, and how you can improve upon all of that is possible with these services and your virtual hard drives, which is an extension to the virtual machines where these services are able to provide you a large amount of storage where data can be stored. So there are a number of uses of Azure. So the main uses of Azure are, as you can see, application development, testing, application hosting, creating VMs, integrating and syncing features, collecting and storing metrics, virtual hard drives, and so on. Now, if we talk about the key takeaways, so far we have learned about cloud computing, the basic cloud computing structure, the different types of cloud computing, the different types of cloud computing models and services. Then we spoke about Azure and different Azure services and the uses of Azure. And with that, we have reached the end of our video. I hope you found it informative and helpful. This was a basic introduction of cloud computing and Azure. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.